I'm Lindsay with an E from Prince Edward Island, and welcome to Poetry in the Field, where I share some of my favorite poems from some of my favorite places. Happy New Year to all you poetry lovers out there. I know we're already a few days into this new year. I hope it's been off to a good start for you. And what better way to start the new year than with some poetry? Today I'm sitting here on the historic site of the Farmers Bank of Rustico along the North Shore. Just ahead of me, I can see the bell tower of St. Augustine's Church, which is the oldest Catholic church on the island, built in 1838. And it was actually built around the time that Tennyson was writing the poem I'm going to read to you from today. So Tennyson was composing his masterpiece, In Memoriam, as this church was being built. In Memoriam is really a collection of 131 shorter poems brought together, written over quite a number of years. And it was written as a way for Tennyson to really come to grips with the great grief that he felt over the loss of a very dear friend. So this portion of the poem that I'm going to read today is often titled Ring Out Wild Bells, and is fitting for a new year. And in it, Tennyson is beginning to move through some of that grief out into some hope, perhaps some joy. He's also expressing in it his hopes not only for himself, but for society at large. Now, when we look at the history of the last 150 years, many of his hopes did not exactly come true. And yet, in each of our hearts and lives, we can choose to ring out grief and strife and sin and pride. And we can ring in joy and love and peace and humility. There may be darkness in the land, but Christ's music can still ring in each of our hearts. So this is Ring Out Wild Bells. Ring out, wild bells, to the wild sky, the flying cloud, the frosty light. The year is dying in the night. Ring out, wild bells, and let him die. Ring out the old, ring in the new. Ring happy bells across the snow. The year is going, let him go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Ring out the grief that saps the mind. For those that here we see no more. Ring out the feud of rich and poor. Ring in redress to all mankind. Ring out a slowly dying cause and ancient forms of party strife. Ring in the nobler modes of life with sweeter manners, purer laws. Ring out the want, the care, the sin, the faithless coldness of the times. Ring out my mournful rhymes, but ring the fuller minstrel in. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good. Ring out old shapes of foul disease. Ring out the narrowing lust of gold. Ring out the 1,000 wars of old. Ring in the 1,000 years of peace. Ring in the valiant man and free, the larger heart, the kindlier hand. Ring out the darkness of the land. Ring in the Christ that is to be. Happy New Year to you from Prince Edward Island. May the peace and light of Christ be yours this year. I hope you'll join me again soon for another episode of Poetry in the Field.